All right, let's get this thing started. Welcome to Coffee with the DJ Coach. My name is Coach Hapa. Excited to have you joining us. Today we are talking about a subject that I know a lot about, and I'm excited to be able to share this with all of you. This is all about reading a crowd and why reading a crowd is so critical. And I want you to stay to the end because I've got a tip for you that you might not expect on how you can continue to get better at reading crowds. It's a very practical tip. Stay till the end. I'll have that for you then. Let's get this thing started though. So, I don't know if you know this, you might if you've read my bio, but I actually studied sociology at UCLA. Not because I was going to become a sociologist, and not because I thought it would help me in my DJ career. In fact, I didn't even necessarily know that I wanted to have a career in DJing. But this degree and all the things that I've studied have come in so handy and so useful in my career as a DJ, watching dance floors, watching body language, seeing the way that people interact. And I'm here to share not only a couple of those tips, but a few more with you. So let's jump in. I've written down a couple of notes, and this I thought was a good place to start. DJs don't play music. Technically, we do. We play people. And I think really the key part of this is that we should be focusing on the people, and we're using music to be able to reach the people. So being able to play the right songs isn't necessarily random. You are trying to read the audience that's in front of you, and you're trying to figure out what is going to get them to react, what is going to get them to move. And a lot of this really does come down to your own knowledge and expertise of what's in your library. But even if you don't know every song that was ever made, nobody actually does, there is still a way to be able to be impactful with the songs that you're choosing and being able to get these folks to move. And it's actually a little bit different than you would think it is. So while skill is super important, technical mixing skill is very important. Playing the right song at the right time is the most important. And how do you know that this is the right song? And how do you know that this is the right time? Well, that all comes down to reading the crowd. So I want to invite you to be able to think about this a little bit differently. We are listening not just with our ears, but we're also listening with our eyes. I want you to be paying attention to what the crowd is doing. Are they talking to one another? Are they all faced forward? What is the energy like? Do you see people bobbing their head, tapping their foot? Are people dancing? Like, where is this at right now? Based on who's in the room, I want you to start to make some judgment calls. I have a good friend of mine, shout out to my friend Mike Taylor, and he and I used to do a brunch party together. And I'll never forget this. Mike is actually a singer-songwriter first and foremost. He technically started as a rapper and then got into DJing after that. And he is just masterful at being able to read a crowd. And in fact, Mike would sometimes tell me that his goal was to get one person from every table. So we had a brunch setting. So there were tables and booths and things like that. And his goal was to try to play a song that would get one person from every table moving. Now, that wasn't just going to be one song to win them all. It was going to be one song for this table, one song for that table, one song for this table. And he's using a bit of his own judgment based off of the way people are dressed, the way they're interacting. Are they celebrating something? You know, what age are these folks? What are they currently moving to? Do they like what you're playing right now? Well, then maybe you go a layer deeper and see where that will go. This is such an important skill to be able to possess. And if you've never felt like you were connected to the crowd, I want to encourage you to keep going because it's really important that you keep going and that you keep trying to figure out how you can actually connect to the crowd that's in front of you. If not, what will happen is you'll have some gigs, but you'll never feel that high of what it feels like to literally be lockstep with your audience. And that is one of the greatest highs you could ever experience as a human being. Everybody moving to what it is that you're doing. Incredible. So, I wrote down a couple of other notes here. We talked about this, the timing of when to play songs. Sometimes it's going to require a little bit of restraint. And in other times, it's going to require a bit of hurry up and make sure you do this. You don't want to miss out on the moment that is at hand. So if something happens in the audience, in the crowd, this is a this is a very extreme one, but it's kind of a fun one to point out. Um, I've got two examples. One is, let's say the cops show up. Let's say you're playing a party, maybe it's a house party, and the cops show up, knock on the door, and then they go away. What is the song that you're playing immediately after when they've now gone away and now the party starts back up? Immediately, where my mind goes is the theme song from the cops show. Bad boys, what you want? Like that's what I would play, right? And there's a moment that was there. Another good example of this was I was DJing at a resort in the Caribbean, and all of a sudden we were outside, and everything was fine. And as things go, the weather changes quite often, quite quickly in tropical places like this. All of a sudden, it started raining, and people are like headed for cover. I was already somewhat covered, but people are like ducking for cover. In that moment, I happened to have in my library a version of I Can't Stand the Rain. And it's actually a cover of I Can't Stand the Rain by Seal. And it's this really dope cover of it. I bust that out and play that, right? This is the awareness of a DJ, being able to read the room, and not just read the crowd, but read the room, read the environment, read the situation. In those moments, that's where you really get that gold star. That's where somebody really gives you that nod and those props that are like, yeah, okay, you're a real pro when it comes to that. Other situations, though, that you could think of would be when it comes to timing is not just those hurry up and do it, but also that restraint. Maybe there's a hot song that's out right now and you want to play it, but it's not time yet. You still don't, like, the crowd is maybe starting to fill in, and maybe you've got a decent crowd, but now is not the time yet. You've got to wait and let this build, and you've got to have enough patience for this thing to build. And you also have to be able to garner enough trust from that audience to be able to build it up to that spot. But you should try your best to be able to hold back on playing that one hit song that you're about to get into until the time is right, until it fills in a little bit more and the energy is at a space where it doesn't feel like it can go higher. And then you drop that song and then you break the roof, you break the ceiling, right? Like that's that moment. So these are a couple of examples. And I know I promised this, and so I'm going to give it to you right now. So, coach, how can I get better at reading crowds if I'm not gigging all the time? How can I get better at reading, audiences and reading the room if I'm not gigging? I need to be gigging in order to do that. False. Absolutely not. In fact, the best thing that you could do, whether you're gigging a lot or not, is to go out and watch other DJs and read those rooms. What would you play at that moment? What are you picking up on? What are you seeing? Now you're able to read the room without having the pressure of having to bring up that next song, having to beat match it, having to make sure that everything, lines up and that, people are in your ear. You don't have that. So you can be free to really observe and take it all in and use that. I feel like that's something that I've been really blessed by. I sat on the sidelines for a good 3, 4, almost 5 years probably, just going to gigs, watching DJs that were a part of my crew rock crowds. And that was a part of my training. I didn't get to touch the turntables much at that point, but that training that I gained gave me so much more knowledge about how to read rooms and how to read the crowd, which honestly is one of the best skills that you can possess as a DJ. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure that you like, subscribe to the podcast, and I'll see you on the next one.